Russia's economic woes worsen as the ruble suffers its biggest one-day fall in 16 years. Moscow suffering from a drop in oil prices, as well as sanctions imposed by Western nations over its actions in Ukraine. So what can Vladimir Putin do to turn the situation around? And how much have his own policies contributed to the crisis? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mike Hanna. Russia's currency, the ruble, has suffered its biggest one-day drop since 1998, a sign of just how deeply in trouble the Russian economy is. A sharp drop in oil prices, together with a standoff with European nations over Ukraine, has created what some are calling a perfect storm. Russia is on the verge of sinking into its second recession in 5 years. The ruble hit a record low against the dollar on Monday, taking its slide for the year to 37%. The global slump in oil prices has also hit hard. Oil accounts for 50% of the nation's budget. Western sanctions over Ukraine have also taken a heavy toll on the economy, particularly in the financial sector. It's all making investors very nervous. And in the first 9 months of this year, $85 billion were pulled out of the Russian economy. As the ruble plummeted, Russian President Vladimir Putin was on a visit to Turkey. He announced that he was scrapping the multi-billion-dollar South Stream pipeline that would have delivered Russian gas to Europe. The Russian president blamed European nations for derailing the project. Instead, Putin said he would redirect the pipeline via Turkey, resulting in cheaper gas for Turkish consumers. Despite very public differences on foreign policy in places like Syria, Russia and Turkey appear to be keen to build closer economic ties. Well, let us now get the thoughts of our guests. Joining us in Moscow, Vyacheslav Matusov, former Russian diplomat and political commentator. In London, Riccardo Pulitti, a director of energy and natural resources at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And in Istanbul via Skype, Sinan Ülgen, chairman of the Center for Economics and Foreign Policy Studies, an independent think tank in Istanbul. Welcome to you all. Let's begin with Riccardo Pulitti. Does the plummeting ruble come as a surprise?
No, it doesn't come at a surprise. I have to say, as you rightly said earlier, around 50% of the exports of Russia are oil and gas. So the impact of the decrease of the price of Brent is quite important. Secondly, the fiscal impact of the price of oil is important as well. The impact on the sanctions is very much felt. And then let's not forget that the European Union is not growing very much. And since the European Union is a big market for Russia as well, now you have another factor which is very, very important. So it is not surprising that the price of the ruble is going down in value. It is just the effect is just the impact of all these issues that come all together.
Well, Vyacheslav Matusov, the finance minister, has also released a report saying that the cost of living is going to increase. Real income is likely to shrink by some 3% over the coming year. What is the domestic reaction to all this news?
Domestic reaction on all these developments on economical field are calm in Russia, because Russians sometimes doesn't pay any attention to increase some prices for 3%. They don't notice even these changes. But I think that this situation with the ruble increasing and falling price for oil, it is correspond Russian common intention and criticizing Russian government previous decade that they are too much dependent on oil and gas. And this, they say that this is like a malady that they have in our economy. And they see constantly insisted on pay more attention on industry, on agriculture, on development the economy, not only oil and gas industry that were very profitable, but it's not productive as they considered. And now many people in the street in Moscow, in Russia, consider that this historical chance for Russia to cut its dependence on oil and gas sources and pay more attention to develop industry, agriculture, and many other branches of economy. I think that now we are on a crossroad, and rumors in Moscow now saying that even maybe a speech that will be delivered by Vladimir Putin December 4, and after 2 days, will be very important from the point of view of changing the structure of the government, and they're saying sometimes that he will replace prime minister and so on. It will be very substantial changes in Russian structural position.
Well, I'll get on to some of the points that you brought up there in a moment, Vyacheslav. Apologies for interrupting. There are some points I want to get back to, but I just want to bring in Sinan Ulgun at this particular point. All this news came as Vladimir Putin was in Turkey, as we are saying, and some would argue that Russian financial woes played into Turkey's hands to a certain extent. They have ended up with far cheaper gas as a result of all of this. So what's the view from there?
Certainly, although the eventual decrease in gas prices to Turkey ended up being 6%, which by and large reflects also the downgrading of the price of oil. So that's not much of a surprise. But in general, of course, this visit, which happened 2 days ago, which ended 2 days ago, was one of the regular summits between the Turkish leadership and the Russian leadership. This has been happening for the past 5 years. And this has happened in a context where Turkey and Russia, despite their differences on political issues regarding the future of the region, starting with Syria, where the two governments don't see eye to eye, Turkey wanting regime change in Syria, and Russia continuing to support the Assad regime, but also on Ukraine, where Turkey has not recognized the annexation of Crimea by Russia, but also on other issues like Cyprus. Despite all these differences in relation to the regional dynamics, the two countries have found a way to cooperate and to deepen their collaboration in the area of economy and energy. So this time around, the two countries decided that they should raise their trade relations to $100 billion in volume, up from the $30–35 billion of today. They have signed an agreement for Russia to deliver more and cheaper gas to Turkey, and also Turkey having awarded the construction of its first nuclear power plant to Russia. They decided to continue their collaboration on that front. So what this tells us is that the two countries have successfully agreed to disagree on the political issues and essentially prevented any sort of negative fallout from the differences in terms of the political dynamics to affect their collaboration in areas of energy and economy.
Well, there's a large number of factors that are on the table here, but Riccardo Politi, I want to pick up immediately on something that Vyacheslav Matusov brought up there. Russia's reliance on particular exports rather than trying to create a broader base. Is this part of the key to an economic failure or temporary collapse, as some might argue, that many had actually been warning about for a period of time?
Well, it is certainly one of the reasons why we are in this situation. An economy which is very much reliant on the export of commodities in terms to generate GDPs is obviously very, very reliant on the price of those commodities. And we all know very well that not only the price of oil is very much low nowadays, but also the price of many other commodities. The Russian economy has been trying for many years to diversify and to go into more value-added products, to diversify into the agriculture, and diversify also based on oil and gas through petrochemicals, and little by little go up in more complex products. This has not happened to the level that I think everybody would like to see. There has been a lot of efforts in terms of education. The education system in Russia is pretty good. I remember the establishment of a very, very good business school no more than 5 years ago. So there are many efforts in this direction. But of course, it takes many years to redirect an economy from being basically a commodity export economy into a more sophisticated service or high-valued goods economy, and this is our high technology economy, and this is the little bit the problem that Russia has, and in the current contingent situation this problem is very important. In addition, I would say Russia in terms of exports is very much reliant in the European Union, which is not doing extremely well at the moment, and the fact that there is a lot of efforts to redirect exports towards Asia and other countries which are growing at a faster rate, it is also part of this repositioning of Russia, both in terms of economic diversification and in terms of geo-economic strategy.
Well, Vyacheslav Matuzov, Russia's ongoing economic ties with Turkey. Now, we heard there the need to build high-tech economies. We heard there the need for Russian markets still within Europe in many ways, but also looking for new markets to reposition itself. But its relationship with Turkey, particularly the deals that have been struck in recent days, is this Russia seeking to diversify its markets, or is it seeking to use Turkey as a bridge to Europe, which it has burnt, many may argue, in recent months?
Well, Turkey can play a role as a bridge for Europe. Turkey can play a role as a bridge to Asia, to Middle East, because it is on crossroads of two continents. I think that Russian trade turnover with Turkey achieved $33 billion. And Putin and Erdogan agreed to bring this figure up to $100 billion till 2020 or 23. I think that this gives a push back for developing some technologies in cooperation in technology, because Russia is ready to construct a nuclear power station in Turkey on their own account. It costs something about $20 billion, and it will be owning this plant and producing electricity for Turkey from Russian power station. So I think that now cooperation in this field with Turkish government is very, very close, and I think that Turkey will benefit from that, and Russia too, because any restrictions for production from Europe, now we can have all this production can be replaced by Turkish firms. I think Turkey have a historical chance to enter a market that they are fighting for previously. I think it's not a good chance for Europe, who are losing Russian market. It's not simple for them to restore after that, when this market will be filled by goods from other nations, from other countries.
I just want to go to Sinan Ulgun on this particular point. As we've explained, there is a shift in the pipeline from that South Stream project, which has now been abandoned from Russia, putting the pipeline through Turkey. Is there a political aspect to all of this as well? Turkey clearly going to be in a very delicate position. One remembers that it is a member of NATO. Turkey is, some would argue, trying to have it both ways, being a functioning member of a Western alliance and at the same time increasing these ties with Russia. Is there a delicate game going on as far as Turkey is concerned?
Surely, there's a very delicate balancing act here that the Turkish government is trying to pull off. Because many of these projects are big visible projects, the construction of Turkey's first nuclear power plant, a deepening energy collaboration, the cancelling of South Stream and the decision for increased gas supplies to Turkey that will turn Turkey, or that will help Turkey to turn into a more significant energy hub in the region. All of these have deep political connotations. And this is happening at a time when political tension between Russia and the West has increased, and Turkey being, of course, part of the Western camp, a NATO member. So this puts Turkish policymakers in a very difficult position. They're certainly trying to adopt a very delicate balancing act. And this also means that there will always be a limit to how deep this collaboration between Turkey and Russia can eventually become, because there will always be an obstacle, which is Turkey's partnership of the Western camp, a NATO member. And there are indeed expectations from Turkey's NATO partners that Turkey would cease to cooperate in such a manner with Russia. So in this instance, the Turkish policymakers have to balance these contrasting expectations between a deeper collaboration with Russia, which would certainly help the Turkish economy and the Turkish vision of being an energy hub for the rest of Europe, with the expectations from its partners in the West that it would stop these type of cooperation and for fear of being viewed as a partner that eventually tends to undermine the whole atmosphere of Western pressure against Russia. Now, the final point in that is that at the end of the day, Turkey is not a EU member, so it is not legally bound to adopt the sanctions that are put into place by the EU. But nonetheless, there's a limit to how far this economic collaboration can go. Otherwise, Turkey will be heavily criticized in the West.
Well, Riccardo Pulitti, if you could bring all these disparate strands together that are playing into this particular discussion, the decision to shut down the South Stream project obviously has a financial impact. The decision to reopen a gas line through Turkey has a financial and a political reality. Is this being done for economic reasons, or is there part of a global strategy, the gas strategy that Vladimir Putin has exercised in recent years? Is this part of that?
No, I think there is an economic reason. You know, rumors about abandoning South Stream have been around for a while. You may remember one of the partners, Eni, the Italian company, declaring no more than 1 month ago their concern about the cost of this project and how it would fit into a Europe where the demand of gas is far less than it used to be. I can see very easily, and I can understand why Russia is willing to provide more gas to Turkey, because Turkey is a country which has a fast-growing population. They have a strong demand for gas. There is already an infrastructure, a piece of infrastructure called Blue Stream that can transport this gas. If the price is right, and I think that now we are getting to that, I think Turkey is a very good market, but it cannot replace the European Union. However, I would say from the viewpoint of Turkey has always been very interested in being an energy hub to connect the consuming markets of Europe with the producing markets of, for example, Caspian area. I would say that for Russia, this is at the moment it's important to send this gas to Turkey to show that they have other options they can use and eventually to deliver gas to Europe. But for Turkey, I don't think that there is any reason to tie itself exclusively to Russia. They are still importing gas from the Caspian region. In due time, not nowadays, but in due time, there are a lot of gas reserves in the Eastern Mediterranean. Iran might one day may be become an exporting country towards the West again, and so on and so forth. So I think that there is at the moment a clear line where everybody's happy, but I think in the future the interest of Turkey is very much to diversify its sources of gas if it wants to play the role of a real energy hub.
Well, Vyacheslav Matuzov, to get back to the reasons for Russia's decision. Now, once again, as we've got the closure of a pipeline feeding Europe, the opening of another one, which may or may not. But is there any sense whatsoever in Russia that Vladimir Putin has been taking economic decisions based on political programs? That the closure of a pipeline, for example, is a reaction to European sanctions. Is there any sense that political decision-making is actually taking priority over economic determinants?
I don't think that priorities between policy and economics here are separated. Because we understand very clearly that Europe is very much interested in supplying gas from Russia. But on political reasons, Europe doesn't accept this constructing South Stream. On political reasons, not economical one. And now economy and politics are very close to each other. Where is balance in favor of economics, where in favor of politics? It's very difficult to find out. All figures should be proof. What way is better, through Turkey or through Bulgaria, for example? Now Russia proclaimed that it's already cooperate with Turkey to construct a station, a hub in the Mediterranean that will be developing and supplying gas and oil to South Europe through Turkey, through this hub. And then I can say that now the diversification of sources for supplying Europe gas and oil from Middle East, from Iran, from Mediterranean new fields, I say that it demands years and years. Even Iranian oil, gas field, oil field should be constructed after all this sanctions regime affected on Iran. They need not less than 4 or 5 years. And what could be done during these 4 or 5 years? The market, European market of gas supply doesn't wait, because winter, Mr. Winter is behind him.
Well, I want to get, apologies for interrupting again, Vyacheslav, but I really want to get to Riccardo Politi very quickly because we are running out of time here. Essentially, have sanctions played a role in Russia's economic woes at the moment? The finance minister says sanctions have cost Russia $25 billion, but the falling oil prices cost Russia $60 billion. Which is the determining factor here? Have sanctions played a role in Russia's economic decline?
Well, I think both of them play a role. It would be very difficult to see which is the priority issue. What I think it's important to notice that a reduction in revenues and a reduction also in fiscal revenues, not only in export revenues, make that it's far more difficult to finance large projects, large systemic projects like the South Stream we are discussing in the moment, and the sanctions on the financial side and on the technology side makes it difficult to develop new fields like the fields in the Arctic or to develop shale gas in Russia. So I think the impact is certainly is important, is a very important impact. Having said that, I have to say that Russia and Europe will remain partners in business, and in the energy sector will remain. I mean, of course, there is a certain concern in Europe now to diversify more the sources of energy, but this doesn't mean that the two regions, I mean, the European Union and Russia, will not continue what has been a very good relationship in the past. So I think there is just some redirection, some reassessing of the situation, but that doesn't mean that that relationship will not remain good in the long term.
Well, at that point, my thanks to our guests, Vyacheslav Matuzov, Riccardo Politi, and Singan Ungen. And why not add your voice to this discussion? You can post your comments at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story or contact us on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. I'm Mike Hanna. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.